thought I would take a moment and talk about the holidays for what it's worth. There's only a few people on here, which is perfect because when there's a lot of people, it's hard to answer questions, and I put myself in a position where I feel like I have to answer every question, and it's awkward, but at the same time, it's enjoyable. So, hope everyone's doing well tonight, or anyone who's joined me, and I apologize for my my lateness, but that's just how I roll. And I'm not always late for events in life, but when it comes to something like this, I figured I was kind of reluctant to even want to talk about anything tonight. But often when I make a live video, which is not very common, um, I will just kind of. It's funny because over 10 years I've only made a few live videos, and most of them have been within the last couple of weeks. And I found that interacting with people face to face is so much more rewarding, even though it's not face to face, it's face to text. But I know a lot of people are hating it right now. I know a lot of people are suffering. Hello, Soma Alchemy. Here from Mark Dreams 2. Hey, my friend. Hey, good to see you. Thank you. Mark Dreams is another YouTuber who he makes videos while he's getting high and hanging out and talking about psychedelics and whatnot. He's a pretty cool cat. He's a younger guy, and he reminds me a lot of myself. And I feel the same way about a lot of YouTubers, like Blaze might be out there somewhere. Blaze Harmon, and God, who's the other guy that I watch? I can't remember at this moment, but there have been a lot of various YouTubers that I've watched over the last decade who are younger guys that remind me so much of myself when I was like in my late teens, early 20s, and watching them go through this process of discovery of self-understanding is something, I don't know. It's pretty awesome. But anyway, Mark Dreams is he's going through his own realizations just like the rest of us are, and it's cool that he sent somebody over my way. Anyhow, I'm just a 45-year-old fuck up. And in my time, I've gone through a lot of different perspectives on what matters in life. When I first started my channel, I was like, well, one day I'll have a lot more subscribers and then I can talk with a lot more people. As I built more subscribers for my channel, I started to realize that I much more enjoy the small, intimate setting within a discussion group, right? This is something, even though I've abandoned Facebook, I feel the same way about Facebook. If you're going to use it, stick to the small groups and don't analyze all the bullshit. Well, this kind of hit home tonight when I was thinking about how people these days, and this is to the point of the video, there's a lot of anger, hostility, frustration right now due to what's going on in the world, but it's really hard for me to. It's like people are waking up to the reality that shit is not what they thought it was. And my thought is kind of a, hey, too little, too late. I've been well aware that there are people who want to control and dominate us, that there are, groups out there that want to make life miserable. I know a lot of people are focused on the fact that, oh, we have to wear masks and we have to do this and do that, and it's all a big control thing. And here's the conclusion I've come to, is that that opinion, that feeling that we have no control, has nothing at all to do with 2020, COVID, or any of the issues with the government. It has everything to do with our own personal outlook on life and how much we're willing to take our own lives into our hands. I had to process this for the last 6 months and really think about it before I could make an assessment. And what I've realized is that people are jumping on the coattails of COVID as if it's an excuse to be miserable to each other, in our lives, and during the holidays. So I decided to make a video here about the holidays and remaining positive. And as cheesy as that sounds, and the funny thing is that probably won't get many views. People will see that and they'll click right past it. And that's probably the reason why I left it like that. There are some people who don't have any intention on seeing things positively in their life. You will meet people in your life who care nothing about understanding. They care nothing about a discussion, which the argument, the Aristotelian argument, which is Aristotle, the argument was meant to get to the bottom of things and discover what is right and what's wrong. But I've noticed a lot of people these days are extremely triggered. If you say even one thing the wrong way, whether it's a friend, family member, or a stranger, they are instantly triggered. They get all upset about things. So I've been really processing this lately and asking myself what's important. What's the most important thing right now in this holiday season in 2020? And it's family for me. But that's obvious, right? And I know a lot of people don't have family. A lot of people don't have that option to hang out with loved ones, or they don't have children, they don't have parents, maybe they don't have friends. And these are the people I'm talking to out there. These are, I guess, the group of people that I'm trying to reach are the ones who are suffering this time of year. I saw a video the other day that was uploaded, and it was entitled Holiday Triggers. And he spoke of, this is a newer channel that I've been watching. I don't usually mention channel names just because. But this guy, he started off his channel and he started talking a lot about Kratom, and that's how I found it. And then he started talking about depression, anxiety, problems during the holidays, and basically, I don't know. There have been two separate YouTube channels recently that I've commented on where I've had one guy come back to my channel and say, I don't need your, pep talk. Literally was he said, I don't need your pep talk about life and whatnot. And I said, hey, I understand that. I respect that. But remember that we can beg, grovel, complain about everything in our lives, and it will never get better. The one thing I've learned about life, it doesn't improve just because you're complaining about it. It doesn't improve because you've had past experiences. It doesn't improve because you had triggers or because you have an issue with the holidays or anything else. And this comes down to a very difficult discussion, which is saying, toughen up, deal with shit. And at the same time, realizing that every person is unique in the way that they deal with life. Every person is unique in the way that they handle these things that come up for us in our lives. And like many of you, I send a lot of text messages. I guess not a lot, but I should say I send more text messages than I answer my phone. I have a kind of a rule now. I haven't answered my phone in probably 2 years. If somebody calls and it's the right moment, I'll answer. And every single time I get the same thing from a friend. Oh man, why did you answer? Oh, I'm surprised you answered. You never answer. And they give me all this shit. It's like I spend the first 5 minutes explaining why I answered my phone. But I just don't care enough to answer a phone. If a person has something to say, they can send me a text message, and if it's important, I'll call them back. And this is because, and one of the main components I wanted to mention here, a lot of people have family and friends. I have three boys and a wife and a home, and I have my own personal immediate family to deal with. So I'm not too concerned what other people are saying off to the side, or what strangers think, or whether families complaining because they're have their own problems. But at the same time, there's this inner understanding that I care about those around me. For example, my brother and my mother are the only ones in my direct immediate blood family. That's all I have is my brother and my mom. It was my brother and I and our mom and dad. Our dad died when we were about 16. I was 15 or 16 when he passed back in 92. And it was a really tough time. But there was a point to this, is during that time, I blocked it out. I took my aggression out on other things. I was never a fighter. I've always been a lover, not a hater. But I do have a tattoo on my knuckles right here that says hate. People have asked me about this with the spider web, and we met this guy at a 7-Eleven who we used to buy acid from back in the early 90s. His name was Troy, and he had a tattoo on his knuckles just like this, the spider web, and then it has the spider, and it said fear. And it was based on his prison experience, him going to prison. We thought he was the coolest guy. Here's this guy that's 10 years older than us selling us joints at a 7-Eleven, and we think he's the coolest guy in the world. But pretty stupid in retrospect. But he did have some good acid. But the point was that I put this on my knuckles, and it's been there for 30 years. Hate. Every job interview I've been to, every probation, meeting I've been to, every single time I've gone out and interacted with people, I have hate on my knuckles. And when people find that out, they say, "Oh my God, dude, like, why don't you get it removed?" Or, you don't seem like a hateful person. I'm like, well, I'm not a hateful person, and I don't get it removed because it gives me a perspective on a time in my life where I wasn't feeling well. So I really want to stick to the topic here, but it's hard to. There's so many things to talk about, and I have a lot of stories. Going from stories to facts or ideas is very difficult sometimes because stories are what make us, it's what create our reality. So, backing up to the holidays here, let's just step back for a minute. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, how do you feel about Christmas? Honestly, how do you feel about New Year's, this whole holiday season? Now, a lot of people find that it's valuable for them to dismiss the holidays or to ridicule holidays. How could people celebrate things, and oh, it's just a Christian holiday, I'm not a Christian, or it's all about commercialism, and oh, Black Friday and all these things. And I totally understand that and know where you're coming from. But at the same time, it's one day a year that a majority of people don't have to work, and where there's a consistent vibe throughout the universe, or throughout our universe, throughout at least our nation and part of the world, where this moment of, awakening for realization that the family is what matters, the gifts aren't what it's all about. What I'm getting at is that a lot of people fear the holidays because of either A, they've had bad things happen during the holidays. Maybe they lost a loved one. Maybe something happened in their family and they don't get along. But you know what? We all have that. Number two, it might be because they can't afford gifts. And I've been in that situation every year. But you know what? It doesn't matter whether you can afford them. You don't go out and buy junk that you don't need or that people don't need just to say, "I bought you a gift." Give them a big hug and a beautiful handwritten letter and a personal gift. Number three, the reason people don't like holidays is perhaps because it's religious, or they think that it's associated with some belief system. And as a non-Christian, I totally understand that. I have studied ancient philosophy and history and religion, and I've come to the conclusion that, of course, Christmas, the modern Christmas, right? Christ Mass was, of course, stolen from pagans, which before that it was the solstice. Now, every single year for the last 10 years or so, I've made a YouTube video, Happy Solstice, every winter solstice. It's usually December 21st. It's the day, it was yesterday. It's the day when the sun sets the very earliest of the year. It's that simple. The solstice is basically the day where the sun shines the least amount during the day. It's the longest night. The summer solstice in June is when the longest day occurs. So it stays light till 10 p.m., right? So here we are, the day after winter solstice. It gets dark at fucking 9 o'clock, or 4 o'clock, 4:15, 4:20. And it's easy to just go, "Oh my God, dude, it's depressing." 6 hours that we would have of light are gone in the winter. Now, this is very specific to where I live, but I live in, for those who don't know, I live in the Pacific Northwest. I live in Vancouver, Washington, which is right directly across the bridge from Oregon. And I know that doesn't explain much because people who don't know the area don't understand. It's the Columbia River, which is the largest river west of the Mississippi. Beautiful, huge river that goes through the gorge. Divides Oregon and Washington for a lot of the border. Now, Portland is a huge city, but right over the bridge is Vancouver, Washington, which is it was always considered kind of the white trash area, at least from when I was growing up, where there's a lot of crime and whatnot, and that's changed over time, but there's still plenty of crime everywhere. Um, the point being that our experience here for the holidays, going out and getting our own Christmas tree and um, living in an area where tree farms are kind of the norm, then even when I go out every year and get a tree, I kind of laugh at myself and I say, this is stupid. Why am I going out and cutting down a live tree to bring it into my house? And I did have this discussion recently with someone who said, oh, I don't cut down trees because that's killing nature. Roll my eyes and say, look, tree farms are nothing more than cornfields. The trees will either be cut or they will be cut out and thrown away. The point being that these trees are grown so densely that you have to harvest them. But humans have come a long way in the way that we create these like illusions of what the holidays are. Okay, we go out and get our tree, we get our presents. We've got to make sure that this is right. We've got a tree topper. And it's easy for people to just kind of lose their way and feel depressed. And I guess my message here is don't do it. Don't let yourself get sucked down to the lowest of lows just because it's the holidays. I talk to so many people who feel this way. They think, I guess it'd be an interesting discussion or podcast to have with people. Why do you feel this way? Well, because I feel negative, because I don't have kids, or I don't have a family, or I've had bad holidays in the past, or because Christmas is pretentious, or because it's all commercialism and gifts. I don't do Black Friday. I don't worry about gifts anymore, as far as buying stuff. If I see something that somebody likes, I'll buy it. But this is something that people wrestle with consistently. So before I continue, I'm going to flip through the comments and say hello to everybody who's here, because it's only respectful. Hello, Chris. And as I said, the Sons of Alchemy, or Soma Alchemy podcast. I'm curious to know what kind of podcast you have, my friend. I actually have a podcast of my own called 15-Minute Free Thinking. I've been trying to promote it. It's kind of the culmination of 10 years of thinking, and so send me a link and I'll definitely check out your podcast. Hello from Langdheim. Hello, my friend. Hello, Almighty Ohm. Freaky, only thought to look for you today after not hearing from you for ages. How is ya? Good to talk to you, Ohm. Yeah, you've been a subscriber for a long time as well. And hey, how you doing? I'm doing good, thank you. Hello, Terrible T. He says, what's up? Almighty Ohm says, like the holidays were an excuse to be jerks all year, but I was nice in December. Dude, you kind of nailed down something there that's really important, whether you intended to or not. There are a lot of people out there who are consistent jerks all the time. And the weirdest thing is, as I'm saying this, I just had a crazy deja vu, which I'm still having. Deja vus are pretty rare for me, intense ones. I've had a dream that I was sitting in this room and these patterns were moving along a wall and I was talking about this. Totally different story and off the subject, but I thought I would put that down in the video because, wow. Deja vu is caused by dopamine, or whether it be deficiencies or an overload. I've studied this. I'm fascinated with why these things happen, feeling like I've been here before. But anyway, that's enough for that. But yeah, you're right. The holidays were an excuse to be jerks all year. It's the same way that people feel when they're just jerks all the time, and then once in a while they're nice to people, and so it's okay. Look, I'm a grumpy guy sometimes, and I'm a happy guy sometimes. Depends on my state of mind. But I'm really not going to let that rule my life. I might get, like earlier today, I was remodeling my bathroom, and I've shared that with you guys. My regular subscribers are aware that I posted a video of my bathroom when it was just getting torn apart. I just finished a final walkthrough, but then I'm going to have to redo the video because I added 3 more shelves and some towel rings and stuff. But anyway, point being that I went into the second bathroom today. My wife wants me to remodel it, and my wife, she's the greatest thing on earth. I mean, my wife is like, she's so patient with me. She's such a good person. She has such a good heart. And so she doesn't ask for much. But when she does ask for something, I want to provide that as a husband, as a father, as a friend, and as a human being. You know, these are things that I know how to do. I spent a decade doing everything in carpentry. I know how to do plumbing and electrical. I don't like it. I know how to do plates and beams and, you know, foundations. I don't like to do it. But today I went in and did the thing I like least, which is plumbing. And I went in, we put in this sink that I'd taken from an old job site. I put in it wasn't the faucet where it's all in one piece. It's the three-part faucet. So each part has to be screwed on independently and then adjusted and everything. It's a nightmare sometimes. I mean, I got frustrated, I walked away, and 5 minutes later I came back feeling fine. The point I'm trying to make here is that I've learned how to take my grumpiness and process it. You know what I mean? Like, scream if you have to, yell if you have to, do what you have to do, and it's okay. Don't pin that shit into your heart. Like, just let it go, let it flow. When you get angry, let it go. Never, ever let it go to other people. Don't put it on other folks. Don't be one of those people who just has to, like, take the blame on someone. Because I get angry, I just walk off and do my own thing. So many people in today's world want to blame everybody for their problems, whether it be their parents, politicians, the government. You know, it's always the government's fault that we're not feeling well, or that we're upset, or that we don't have our freedoms. But really, we realize that a lot of these freedoms come from within. They're in our hearts. It's something that we feel or we don't feel. It's not something that anyone gives you. The true rights you have are not taken away. So the right to celebrate and enjoy a holiday like Christmas or New Year's, which is something I'm gonna do. And I'll tell you this, I haven't done any Christmas shopping. I haven't gone out and bought anything, really. Um, I know that I'll feel disappointed in myself for not buying more for my family. But I also know that Christmas Day, we're all going to sit around and watch A Christmas Story and various other Christmas movies and, you know, drink hot cocoa and eat candy canes and make the most of it, because that's what we do. Our family makes the most of what we have. And I've been through a lot of shit this year too, ups and downs, positives and negatives, and I'm just making the best of it. So I'm going to flip through the rest of the comments here, just so you know, just to make sure that I'm keeping up with everybody and their questions. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask them. Please do it in a format where I can answer it relatively quickly. But Terrible T says, hey, they're also allowing major motion pictures with an imminent message that we the people need to overthrow the government. I ain't taking the bait, but lots of people are allowing it to consume their, yeah, brother, their minds and lives, it looks like. Yeah, bro. I say brother, but it could be a sister. I never know. I've always made assumptions about whether a person's a male or female, but it really doesn't matter. I agree with you, and I understand where you're coming from. V for Vendetta, well-known movie. I'm sure you've seen it. It's the kind of movie I cheer on. I am not a destructive person, but even when people are rioting and breaking windows, I've had people really get on my case about my prior videos because, in fact, I'm processing one right now on my computer here that was about like, yeah, it was about the riots and yeah, I recorded a bunch of, doesn't matter. I recorded myself at the protests in Portland. It was like July 2nd. It was, I think, June or July 2nd. It was like the second day it happened. How would I know it would last 100 days? But don't want to get into that. But people were angry out there. People were upset. But also a lot of people had legitimate gripes. And a lot of folks say that breaking windows and destruction is not the way. And so I actually was asked this about an hour ago. They said, I don't support, destruction. And I said, can you give me an example of any peaceful protest that ever accomplished anything long term? And that sounds harsh when you process it. In other words, it sounds like I'm condoning violence, which I'm not, but I am condoning destruction of property. And I know that's hard for people to understand. I do not condone destruction of private businesses. But as far as corporations, where do you draw the line there? You know that they're going to collect on their insurance revenue, and you know that it's just going to cost you in the long run. For example, you go and you blow up anything. I don't even want to say it because it puts out a suggestion, but you go out and you harm some public facility, destroy something, damage something. All that's going to do is cost the taxpayers more money. So it's hard because you want to rebel against the government, you want to get your power back, but that goes back to what I was saying earlier. It wouldn't make a difference. If half the country marched on the White House and, took claimed to take back their government, their military, everything. Fast forward for a year. Where would that be? We would end up with a power vacuum, and a power vacuum creates very dangerous place. What happened in Iraq? Saddam Hussein was a monster. But Saddam Hussein was a direct response to the Shah that the United States had put in the 60s. In other words, we've been over there for 60 years fucking with them, for 100 years fucking with the Middle East. All of the borders were drawn by Western countries, okay? A lot of folks don't realize this. No matter where you are in the Middle East, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, all the borders were drawn after 1900 by the US, the UK, and these Western interests as they went over and divided up the area, which is why the Sunnis and Shias are in the same area, and there's a lot of battles and fights over what's right and what's wrong because they can't even build their own economy, their own system, without Western interests getting into their pockets. And so we create these, it's kind of like spreading rumors, right? That's pretty much what we do. We create a coup and let people take over their own government. But that really takes it into politics. But I think it's important to realize that a lot of these people are stuck because of what other people have done. A lot of the problems we have as individuals, as families, as communities, are not due to circumstances that are out of our or circumstances that are in our control, or circumstances that even nature has created that we can't do anything about, but rather man-created circumstances, which put you in this idea that you have to just go along with what all the other guys say. This is what's right. This is what's real, and bullshit. It really is. It's endlessly frustrating to see how corrupt the world is and people are. But that's why it's so much more important to not focus on that. What have we gained by worrying about the Illuminati or a new world order? If, let's say, 20 years ago, you were out there telling people, hey, people are trying to dominate the planet, which I was 20 years ago. And I got to the point where somebody says, so what? Your life is the only thing you can control. And I said, that's true, but you have to speak up. And people would say, well, you have to speak up for things you understand. I've had many people more highly intelligent than I am by far point out my own flaws in thinking when I want to complain or gripe. Therefore, it's even that much more important when others complain and gripe that I point that out. It's never as simple as we want to make it, but it's never as complicated as we want to make it either. So, flipping back through the comments here. Hello, W. Hey, DB. Tom Brady. Yeah, he said Tom Brady might not be number one in his division, but he stuck to it. The truth is, my friend, I hate sports. I really, I don't, okay, let me rephrase that. I don't hate sports. I dislike professional and college sports to the extent that I have no interest and don't know any of the members except for Tom Brady, which I obviously knew he was football. Wait, football? Yeah, football. I'm one of those guys. I'm not a man's man when it comes to sports at all. Rob said, hey, Rob Stoltz, I haven't seen you in a while, brother. He says, I get to work on Christmas. Yay. Don't feel bad, man. Might be better. Honestly, I've worked on Christmas lots. I worked a double on Christmas one year because I was paid double time. My boss used to pay us in cash for our second shift at a gas station. That was the same gas station that the cops came and arrested me in for an outstanding secret indictment warrant, and I lost my management position. It was a nightmare. But anyway, that's a story for another time. Hmm. Sprocaster says, Christmas is just hanging out with my family for a day with good food. Bingo. That's what it's all about. Isn't it funny how you take that shit for granted? Like, being able to hang out with family for a day and just eat and not worry about doing anything else. I don't know. It's awesome to me. Hey, Frank Zappa. I work at a tree farm of sorts trimming. Nice. Trimming trees. I trim trees too. Different kind of trees, though. In fact, I have this cannabis box over here that I was just looking at. And believe me, I have a point for bringing this up. This a lot of people have a film container or a little jar they keep their weed in. And I've got my little trimmers in here and everything. And I just kind of cut a bud whenever I need one, trim it down. And I really thought about this the other day. I thought, this is something I've actually thought about every year. And I thought, for me, this is just a box of stuff. I'm like, it's just weed. I don't care much about it. I'm not, I don't know. You have it, it's there, so you don't think about it. Then you talk to somebody who's struggling and they want to just get just one bag of weed. And you think, but if you had everything you needed, it probably wouldn't be as awesome as it is. And the point here is that the novelty is something that human nature strives towards. Novelty is one of those, if you're not aware of what, I'm sure you've all heard the word novelty, and I feel like I should define things before I talk about them. Novelty is new. Novel means new, right? Which is why they call it novel coronavirus, right? But novel, just like a book, it's new. Novelty is something that we strive towards as individuals, as communities. We want new things. But there's a part of us that's conservative, that doesn't want new novel things. So we don't like not being sure about ourselves. We don't like not knowing exactly where we're going, what the next year will bring. And maybe that's why the holidays in 2020 here are so difficult for so many people, is because usually you set your New Year's resolutions, if you do. You have your own interpretation of what might happen next year. See, I'm going to try this. But now everything's up in the air. We're confused. I've been writing this paper about the future. It's a future blog that I'm writing. And it starts out by saying, after the COVID of 2020, the COVID-19 was the catalyst for change, and it moves into 10 years in the future gradually. It talks about how people lost trust in one another, how the farms became harder to maintain because of desertification, how a corn blight, virus came through and killed off a lot of the corn because monoculture is the way of the world now. And then one volcanic eruption, which caused a 1 year, basically a nuclear winter type deal, which in the long run ended up killing crops. We're living on this precipice, this peak of humanity right now, where we can't really grow much more without evolving mentally. And I don't feel like we're doing that. So it's almost like you have to fall back to kind of that ignorant level of, I'm just going to put up with this. It is what it is. I'm not going to fight it. It's a matter of standing up for what you believe is right, while at the same time not letting what should be consume you for your whole life. If that makes sense. Ohm says, not being perfect, but being mindful of our default to be jerks. Be less jerk, repeat. Exactly. But a point on that is, if you're going to be a jerk, you have to realize that it's coming from somewhere, whether it's a preconceived notion about the person or the idea, the situation, whether it's a bad morning, or whether it's something as simple as not eating a good breakfast, which is often my issue. If I go out and I work and I've been fasting, break fast, right? and then you find that you don't have the nutrients you need, right? But if you eat too much, you're too tired to work, and then you can not become grumpy. You can become the opposite, ultra passive, and not give a shit. It's being a human, man. Being a human's crazy. Spheres of influence says, "Hello, Vortex Pilot. Good to see you, my friend." Bellowing wall. Wait. I got him here. This is how we can read it. Yeah, I'm getting old and shit. I'm 45 now. I got to wear my reading glasses to read my texts. You know, when I was younger, I used to think, well, I don't mind if I ever have to wear glasses because I'd love the John Lennon glasses, the cool round ones, but, you know, hippie shit, right? Okay, Bellowing Whale says the purpose of anger is to override anxiety and motivate you to resolve problems. That is a wonderful position to take. I really appreciate that. And I agree. I concur with that in a way, in certain circumstances. So anger can be a way for you to overcome issues, but it can also resolve problems, but it can also be a trigger, something that's triggered by our own insecurities. So you might get angry because you want to resolve something and you know it's bullshit. Sometimes you'll get angry because somebody says something that you've heard before, let's say. Let's say somebody says, you're an arrogant prick. You're like, whatever, and you get pissed about it, whatever it might be. Then a few weeks later, somebody else says the exact same thing. You're an arrogant prick, and you get angry about it. It's not because of that person. You're not angry at that person. You're angry because somebody made the same claim that somebody else had made, and it made you think about who you are. In the same sense that, for example, if people call me, God, I mean, I don't usually get that. I'm trying to give an example. Like my brother and I were talking earlier, and he said something about Twitter being BS, and I said something about Instagram being the bullshit too, or pretentious, arrogant stuff. And I thought about this, you know, when I sent it, I was thinking, okay, it's everything is a tool. Everything in our lives is a tool, depending on how you use it. It's important to not let this, I don't know, it's some people won't do the things that they want to do or talk about the things they want because they feel like it is out of their club, out of their group. Like a person who's a vegan saying, I just want to eat a burger, right? I mean, that ain't going to work for everybody. But for some people, it's like a relief to say, I'm being honest with myself and how I feel. So I feel like anger can override anxiety, but it can cause more if we don't acknowledge that. So, going through the comments. Hello, Kevin Nelson. Good to see you, my friend. Kevin Nelson, actually, he came by one time. He was moving down to, well, I don't want to tell people about your private life, but he traded me these bongos, or I should say congas, which I still have. These two congas, and I really love those drums. I take good care of them. Get upset when they get banged around or anything, and I just wanted to say thank you, and they're always here if you ever want to buy them back. Sometimes I've acquired things when people want to obtain kratom or herb or something, and I feel like it's not right if a person's in a situation where they need something, that they're willing to give up something, that they can't get that thing back. It's kind of like being at a pawn shop, but he was moving too, so anyway, that's another story altogether. Bellowing Whale says, if you're anxious, get angry. It will make you more confident. Wow. That's crazy that you said that, because before I made this video, I was actually researching some things about anger and confidence and stubbornness, if you want. I learned that, I don't know, it's something I've always known. Narcissism is something that I've accused certain people of, right? Or that I've heard others accuse people of, rather. And then I look at this person and say, are they really narcissistic, or are they insecure? Or are they overstating? You know, like, what is a narcissist? Well, a narcissist is somebody who is overly confident to the point where they think that they're better than other people. This is crucial. They think they're better than others. You can be the most confident person, care about yourself, care about your world, stand up for your beliefs, and say, fuck you, I don't care what you think, and not be a narcissist. You just have to be willing to acknowledge that you have flaws. The people who are truly narcissistic are the ones who The narcissism is damaging who they are. But yeah, knowing who you are builds confidence. You know, it's something that's a huge difference. The people who don't have any confidence like to tear others down for feeling confident. And I've had that experience many times. People say things like, oh, you think you know everything that's true, or you think you know what's real and what's great. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't know shit. I'm just here talking. It's just their perception of what I think and what I know. And so it's important not to let those people's opinions sway you. But at the same time, the most important thing I want to share here, the most crucial thing, you don't have to put up with people's bullshit. But sometimes at least analyze what they're saying and ask yourself, is this person really intending you harm? Or are they saying something that's misinterpreted? When a family member sends you a text message, you might be able to say, why did you say that to me? And they'll say, oh, I didn't mean it that way. And you resolve it. When it's a random text online, or you read read into what somebody's saying on a video, you misinterpret what they mean. What it comes down to is intention. How much do you care about each other? How much do you care about life? And doing the right thing for one another, even if that means we don't know a goddamn thing, you know? It's kind of like you don't have to agree with what everybody else says. Like, I've had people completely tear me down because I don't believe in chemtrails. But even when I bring up the idea that, well, sure, barium and aluminum, strontium, whatever it might be, I guess I can't get into this unless you're a person who's studied these things. But when my middle son was born, he's 11 now, and we were at the hospital. My wife was in the room sleeping when I'd go out to smoke, because I was there with her the whole time during the birth and everything. I'd go outside and I'd smoke, and at that time I was documenting temperature, the humidity, the layers of the air, the weather patterns, the forecast, as well as any trails in the sky, because I saw that planes were leaving consistent contrails, and I said, well, people are telling me these are chemical in nature, they're aluminum or whatever it might be. And then I realized, well, aluminum doesn't leave a cloud. This is stupid. It's a pointless thing. I know it would cost so much money for planes to all load up with aluminum and barium, or anything for that matter, on top of their fuel supply. And then I started seeing these photos of planes with these tanks in them, and then found out they were ballast planes. It went on, and I went back and forth for like 2 years until I realized that, for the most part, chemtrails are complete bullshit. Yet to this day, there's still people who will get angry at me because I don't believe what they believe. And it's interesting because the point here is it doesn't matter how much research you've done. It doesn't matter what your skills are, what your knowledge is, whether you've been to school or never been to school, whether you're famous or completely unknown. People only want to believe what they believe. And I guess it's easy for people to sway us into thinking that we don't know shit. It's gaslighting. I mean, gaslighting, I made a video about this a while back, and gaslighting is like the husband who keeps his wife imprisoned in the house and tells her she's worthless, and whenever she makes him, anything happens, it's her fault. Gaslighting is blaming others for every issue, or rather, convincing others that they're inferior to you, or that, making it seem like everything's their fault rather than being your fault. And society is being gaslit by the government. I should say America. I need to stick to the area I live in. This is one of the hardest things to talk about, because when I say the whole world is corrupt, it's like, no, just, certain areas. I don't know what's going on right now in Sweden. I don't know what's going on in fucking southern Antarctica. I don't know what's going on in, Belgium. These are things that are personal to each country, but generally, power breeds contempt for that power. And when that power is removed, there's a power vacuum, which is like what I said earlier about what happened in Iraq and Iran and why these problems keep getting worse. But here we are on the holidays, trying to make it the most, do the best we can. And I just like to say being positive is far more rewarding than negativity. I just looked up and it said 4444. Okay, I'm going to flip through the comments again. Juggernaut says Delta 8 THC is becoming popular. Yeah, I've heard about that. Delta 8 is becoming popular. I'm not interested in it at this point. I am a raw cannabis dude. I like raw bud. I like bud that's not, no, basically just full on organic bud. No insecticides, no uh, bud boosters or sprays or anything like that. I want cannabis that has been grown raw. I prefer sun grown weed. The stuff that I'm smoking right now was grown in the sun by myself from seed. I know exactly where it comes from and I know exactly where it went. And so, yeah, I love my cannabis, but I don't know about Delta 8. I'm very wary because I know it's a synthetic or at least not a secondary compound. And here's the thing, there are ways to turn CBD, for example, into THC through a simple process. This has its complete own discussion relating to it, and I can't go into it here. But the idea that you can turn CBD into THC means that you can take raw hemp and take that CBD and convert it. There are a lot of weird things going on in the extract market when it comes to cannabis, and that's why I want to see my buds. I want to know what's on it. I want to know what's in it, and growing it is the only way to do that. Hello, Soma says, I wonder if they're going to ban Delta 8 THC. You must have meant Delta 8, or if they could. I don't think it's going to matter. Synthetic cannabinoids are well available for everyone. I don't talk about weed a lot, but I'm old school. I mean, I've been smoking since 1990, I think, 89 or 90, first time I tried it. And that's a long fucking time ago for me. The old timers will say, oh, that's nothing. That's when I was well out of high school or college. But for me, I was 14, 15 years old, and it was something totally new to me. This girl I knew at school gave me some for my birthday. I tried it, didn't do nothing. I tried it again, and holy shit. My friend and I got some joints, and we hung out in this tent in the backyard and clam baked the tent. I remember I couldn't find the zipper because it was so smoky and it was so high, and he passed out, and I kind of crawled out of the tent and fell asleep in the yard. And my early days of cannabis discovery were amazing. I mean, I learned so much about myself and the world of drugs that I just, whoa. But in retrospect, I wish I hadn't. I think that cannabis use is, let me just tell you this, as a stoner for what, 30 years now, I, over the last year, have found myself smoking less cannabis each day than I ever did before. And it's weird because it's one of the most stressful years. I'm going to say that I've been drinking alcohol. I'm not going to deny that. That's been kind of a tricky thing because I don't get drunk. I never get the spins. I do puke sometimes if I drink in the late evening, not from getting drunk, but for not eating right. And then I beat myself up all day the next day thinking, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Cannabis never makes me puke. But, as a stoner, I don't know, some very fond feelings about cannabis as perhaps the safest thing to consume, but it can also cause psychosis in some people and overconsumption and whatnot. But um, I don't think that there's going to be any more banning of cannabis compounds. I really don't, because it's just too much right now. There's just too much going on. If anything, they're going to federally legalize it, and not that I'm a big fan of that, but All right, Juggernaut, gelato cake, huh? J mute, message retracted. I always wonder what people say when a message is retracted, but alchemy, I'm curious as well about Delta 8. Hello, infected Chris, or Chris Styles. I believe that's the same, Chris. Sam says, Carpo, recently learned you can make a speaker with a magnet, paper cup, and copper wire. Pretty cool. I remember your video about magnets. They are a mystery. Yeah, dude. Fucking, it's weird. I consider myself scientifically minded. I try to learn everything I can. I play my turntable all the time. I still sit there and I marvel at the needle. It makes me feel stupid, but not stupid. I mean, I should say, just, it makes me feel grateful that I know that I'm an intelligent person, but I still don't understand how basic things work. I know that the needle, my stylus, picks up the sound, converts it into frequencies. Well, if you're not aware of this, a turntable needle vibrates both back and forth as it goes through the groove and up and down. Now, the back and forth is, say, the right channel, and the up and down is the left channel. Or it could be the opposite, I'm not sure. Which means that all the grooves have to be just right. It means it's vibrating two different ways at the same time to give different channels. I'm just blown away. I have probably 3 or 4 thousand records. I still look at them and go, wow, how does this work? And I only bring that up to say that, even the most basic technology is hard to comprehend. Um, but when it comes to like magnets, like you said, it's just, they are a mystery, and you can make speakers out of just about anything. I mean, it's crazy to think of the old tin can kind of thing. But anyway, I could go on and on about that. Army Phillips says, what's up, what's up? Hello, my friend. The Delta 8 is hard to differentiate between Delta 9. It's more subtle. Let me just say on the final note about cannabis, I don't like extracts at all. I have some extract that I smoke when I am out and about, but I buy the little cartridges for about $30 here for a gram. 1 gram cartridge. It'll last me a month or two or longer. I still have at least, a good, eighth of a gram of the last 3 ones I bought over the last 2 years because I never finished them. And I know for people who may be scrounging or not have access like I do in a legal state, that might sound like sacrilege to have weed laying around that I've never consumed, but it's just how it is. I have pot that I grew 5 years ago that's still in bud form, packed away, that I just haven't touched. And I almost feel guilty, like I want to share it with people, but I can't mail it or give it away because of federal law. But every time when somebody comes over to visit, I give them a bunch if they want it. I have a friend who I give a few ounces of Harlequin Tsunami to, which Harley Sue or Harlequin Tsunami is a cross between the Harlequin brand and the Tsunami. There was actually, the Harlequin is also known as the Charlotte's Web strain. It was Harlequin and something else, I believe. This sounds like just nothing if you don't know anything about cannabis. But what I'm talking about is the CBD strains that have been known to help, various patients of, having seizures. Charlotte's Web was a strain that was named after a little girl named Charlotte who had seizures. And this cannabis can really immensely help these types of seizures. So, but I grew this high CBD strain for a long time. It was phenomenal. And I still have a bunch around, and I just love to give it away, but I can't. For legal reasons. I just hate law. Chris, you have the same glasses except black, huh? Jenna says, I like your glasses. Are they readers? Yeah, these are readers that I just inherited. I've never bought a pair of glasses from someone before. From the store. I think they were probably my mom's or something when she stayed with us a couple of years ago. She probably left them here, but I'm the only one who really wears them. My 11-year-old son has a condition where he needs glasses, but other than that, nobody in my family except my mom wears readers too. But I always told myself I'd never want to wear glasses, but I wear these when I'm doing this live cast so I can read the comments on my phone because I'm on the phone. Vegan burgers are dank. Some of them are. They are delicious, I gotta say. Yeah, I do like some vegan burgers. But I like the feeling I get from meat better, and I can't deny that. I can't help it. DB says, do you look forward to your children moving out, or will you be sad to see them go? Well, that's a tough one. I mean, my kids are 8, 11, and 26. So you can do the math on that. My oldest son had moved out for a while, but things got tough. He had some issues, like we all do, and moved back in with us. And since then, things have been tough all around the world. Now, let me just put it this way. This is an interesting question. I really want to talk further about this, and I might get into this, but the way that families in other countries deal with kids and parents and elderly are totally different than the way we in America do it. We think, well, once you're out of the house, get the fuck out of here, then the parents can live their lives, right? It's this kind of mentality that the kids need to get out by the time they're 18, which is ludicrous, of course, but maybe that was in the white picket fence days where you could get everything you wanted, where everything was just provided for us, and we, not provided, but rather the jobs were there, we could go to college, people could afford things. And then over a period of time, you start to realize, wait, things have changed big time. The jobs aren't there anymore. The future's different. And you realize I have only 1,000 square foot house, but, and that's for 5 people and a dog, right? But is it really that little of a room? To give you some perspective, a 13 by 12 room would be what, 130 plus 26, so 160, right? 160 square feet or something in a bedroom. It's not a lot, but it's enough. And when you consider the whole house, it's like, how many rooms do you actually use? And I'm getting way too deep into this. Your question was whether, how I'm going to feel when the kids leave. With my oldest son still being with us at 26, I don't mind. I mean, I'd love it if he was able to support himself, but not for my sake, for his sake. Because there's a certain sanity that goes along with being able to do your own thing the way you want. But there's also something to be said about the current environment. The economy is falling apart. This country is falling apart. If you can live, I mean, my mom stayed with us for a year or so. This was a couple of years ago. If she needs it again, she'll be able to come back again. I feel like this is what we do. We take care of our parents, our kids, each other as families. The big question is, what do I want them to leave for? Well, for their own sake, but I also want to travel the world and not feel like I'm obligated to stay home for other people. Like my wife and I want to move by land, but we've always said, why do we want to leave our family behind here and move somewhere else, but this is our future, this is what we want to do. So it's a tough one. Hello, Logic Only Zone. He says, belief can be helpful. Absolutely. Carpo's Pawn Shop of Honesty. All right, where are we at here? I've always been fascinated by my vinyl, says Chris. Oh yeah, the records. It's fucking crazy. It's like this one I just picked up. I don't know if I showed you guys. If you're interested, I can show you. But it was, my buddy said, hey, Prof has a new LP out. And I didn't know who the hell the guy was, so I bought it. And it's a colored vinyl with a hand numbered with a handwritten letters like, thank you, Michelle, to my wife because I used her PayPal account. But here's an artist, a musician, rapper, hip-hop artist, whatever you want to call it, who actually hand wrote something to each one of his customers who bought the pre-order. I'm like, that's what's awesome to me, is people who still interact. It's kind of like once a channel gets so big or a band gets so big that you can't react or interact with your customers and your people, your supporters, it's too big. And this is why so many people who are really famous or well off actually start these little side projects and don't tell anybody about it. It's why I have 4 other channels that I don't talk about really much, because I just want to be, I don't use them really at the moment, but being able to upload things off the cuff without having expectations, I don't know, it's an awesome thing. So that's how, I spend so much time after you mentioned vinyl explaining my viewpoints on irrelevant subjects. So Bellowing Whale says, it seems like the feelings of well-being and simulation are highly muted compared to from Kratom to 2015-16. Dude, I want to talk about Kratom. I want to make a big long video talking about my feelings about Kratom. I got stuck in a weird position. I'm a vendor, right? I've been fighting this. This is like one of my biggest issues of contention right now in my life over the last year, that I have never mentioned really, is that as a Kratom vendor, a lot of you know, if you were Kratom users back in 2015, I was fighting with the DEA. I was actually one of the most prominent YouTubers talking about Kratom and fighting for it. I kept getting copyright strikes. I got my channel shut down twice for talking about Kratom, but I continued to upload. I was like, fuck this. I started a second channel, started talking about it on my weed channel. I was like, they're not going to stop me from talking about this. At that time, Kratom access, the Kratom quality was phenomenal. The stuff I was getting, at least, was just killer. And then there was some stuff I'd bought wholesale, which was total shit too. There was a medium, but the good stuff was really good. Over the last year, even my vendor that I've been buying from for 10 years, 11 years, He's been having issues getting in high quality. Now, the stuff that I sold that was my favorite was the Potent Indo and the Mangda. I still have the Potent Indo and I still sell it. I have regular customers, but I don't promote it because it's just not the same as it was before. But I ask myself, is that me? Is that all in my head? Because there's some days where I take just an average dose of kratom and I'm just like, whew, I feel great. And other days where I can take more than usual or less than usual and just absolutely have no feeling, no effect off of it. And that's depressing sometimes. But on the kratom note, if you have any virus, illness, cold, anything like that, kratom seems to not work. Or if you're feeling down or depressed, it's an interesting plant. It's mild in that way. So kratom is phenomenal. But yeah, I find shiny something in my flower. Jamie, what was that? Crystals? Chris says, I have a seizure disorder and I'm on Keppra for it. Whoa, I'm not familiar with Keppra, but yeah, I don't know if you've tried CBD, different types of seizures that it can help with. We have given a lot of CBD to dogs and whatnot. I was making dog biscuits and treats for a while. I'm thinking about making some more. I was just talking with my wife this morning. I was like, you know, it's so sad that so many people have pets who are suffering. I was like, what if I made some CBD kratom dog biscuits that were like a moderate dose? It's like, but then somebody's dog dies, right? And then you're responsible. It's the same way while I can't. When people ask me, hey, you know, how good is this kratom or how should I take it? What's the best way? I'm like, I can't talk about that. It's against the rules. I could get sued. You know, the FDA could shut down my business, my website, everything if I say kratom will make you improve your well-being or your mood, because it's not true for everyone. But meanwhile, they can sell every fucking pharmaceutical they want and tell you it's going to save your life and do all these amazing things. And I don't want to get into that because I'm disgusted by how corporations can get away with shit that the average person is just ridiculed for. So anyway, I'm going to move on down the comments. Corey Johnson, hello, my friend. Merry Christmas, everyone, he says. Merry Christmas, Corey. It's good to see you. CJP says, do you think there will be a civil war next year? No, absolutely not. Not a chance. Spinning Wheel says, is this country really falling apart? Is this a genuine thought by many most? I've felt that not this country, but this world's falling apart for a long time. It's not just the country. I wouldn't say it's even the world, but several Western countries and interests who have built their pride upon, you know, profits, lobbying, and corporate, you know, welfare. Basically, where we're at, I believe firmly that the United States is at the peak last year that we'll ever be at. I don't think the United States will ever recover its place in the world scheme of things. That we literally lived through the peak of America last year before COVID. It wasn't that COVID caused the problems. It was that it was just kind of a catalyst, a trigger, a cascade of events that's going to culminate in the realization that we don't have all of what we thought we had. I don't know. All right, we got Melodonna says, hello. Oh, Melodoma. Hello, new to this channel. Awesome topic. Just watched a video about that. Welcome, Melodoma. Please hit the subscribe button and the like button and all that stuff if you enjoy. Usually when I make these videos, I don't get many new subscribers. It's usually, if any, but I wonder if anybody comes across these videos randomly live. I don't put any keywords in, and only my subscribers know this, but you know, I don't go out and promote it to try to get a whole bunch of new subs when I do this. I do it to talk with the people I already have as subscribers, because you're like family to me, you know? But I'm always willing to invite new people into the family. That's the thing. Produce Man 13, hello, my friend. He says, low stomach acid will make a difference with anything broken down in the gut. Yeah, that's a really good comment. Actually, you know, stomach acids are, of course, you know, enhanced or decreased by our stress levels, our anxiety levels, right? A lot of people will tell you you have to take kratom with lime juice, or I've always taken it with orange juice, but I know it doesn't make a difference any more than people say take orange juice with your LSD and you'll trip harder. It was always nonsense. There might be a little bit to it, but really what it comes down to is, yeah, how your gut processes it. And your gut is going to process it according to your gut biome, which is your positive and I guess your negative gut bacteria, which connect to your brain and converse with your brain through what they call the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve goes from your gut all the way up your spinal cord to your brain, and it tells your brain, oh shit, I don't feel good. I'm going to puke. Or I have a headache, therefore I'm going to feel sick. I'm going to puke. These things are, it's a constant connection, which is why I firmly believe, not firmly, I should say, I have a very strong hunch that a lot of the people who are suffering from a lot of mental issues, as well as depression, anxiety, as well as pain or headaches, could be related to the gut, big time. The gut is a very important thing. Unfortunately, I have a fucking steel gut. I can eat anything, but yeah. Maladona says, have you heard of the brand Fine Kratom? No, I have not. I have not, sorry. Chris says he wears the bracelet when he's out. Yeah, may have triggered myself. Yeah, dude, I'm sorry, man. Dude, I can't imagine having a seizure out in public or fearing having a seizure. And that must be very difficult for you, especially if you're trying to drive a car. That's the thing I always think about. Operating machinery, working a job. These are things that can really hold a person back. So I'm sorry to hear that you have to deal with that. That's hardcore. Jairus says, I've never once gotten one of your vids suggested. I'm not already watching. If I'm not already watching. Yeah, that's how most people are. As I mentioned yesterday on a video, I've actually, for a period of a couple of years, I was gaining about maybe 40, 50 subscribers a month, one or two a day. Not that much at all. It was a lot faster at first, then YouTube changed their algorithms. Today, each month for the last 6 months, I've been losing 50 subscribers a month because YouTube is changing their policies, their algorithms. I don't honestly care. If I gave a shit about how many subs I had, I do to an extent, because I figure after 10 years I should have more than this. I see some channels that have like, 1 million subscribers in a year, and all they talk about is some stupid shit. And I think, well, my shit must be stupider. It's just how it is. Spinning Wheel says, Stones or Beatles? Oh, Beatles, but if I had to choose, but honestly, I don't think either one of them are very talented. And I'm definitely in the minority there. The Beatles were amazing. The Rolling Stones are amazing. I listened to both of them, but they weren't musical geniuses or lyrical geniuses. The Beatles did some crazy shit in their later years. The Rolling Stones were pretentious pricks. I'll never forget the story about the Rolling Stones were going to play a concert with the Grateful Dead. And apparently what happened was the plane that was supposed to pick the bands up was late. And you can see the video. I can't remember, how it went, but it's like Jerry Garcia's just sitting there chilling, and you got Mick Jagger. He's getting all upset. He's like, "Where's this fucking plane? Where they're supposed to be here?" And Jerry's like, "It's all good, man." In a nutshell, it's like Mick Jagger freaking out because he's not being taken care of the way he wants, and Jerry Garcia sitting there going, "Dude, it's all good, man. This is just how life rolls." That's what I respect. So, Stones or Beatles, I don't know, but I was never really a big fan of the Stones. All through my teen years up till like 20, I was in a big Beatles mania phase where I learned to play a whole bunch of Beatles songs because I play guitar. So, I do love the Beatles. Just, I realized they were kind of overstated as for what they had. The Soma Alchemy podcast says, fasting is essential for psilocybin. I prefer to fast, yes, when I'm going to take psychedelics, at least for a few hours. And don't take any MAOIs or any other compounds, which MAOIs are monoamine oxidase inhibitors, which you're probably not going to take anyway. But there's so much science behind it, but at the same time it comes down to the day, the mood, the feeling. Sometimes I usually eat a big meal at least 3 to 4 hours before I trip. This way I'm not hungry, because I get hungry when I'm tripping. I always do. It's a weird thing, especially when I take acid. It's like all of a sudden at 4 in the morning I'm starving for pancakes and eggs. Crazy. I don't know why. Carpo 2024. I'll run for my life. I ain't gonna run for president, but I'll run for my life. You know, it's funny because I joked around about that a decade ago. I said, you know, one day a guy like me will be able to run for president, and people will actually not just laugh it off, and you know, eventually maybe we'll get there. But at that point, I figure we're doomed already. If a guy like me was president, we'd be screwed because I don't care enough about policies and law. I'd be the kind of guy who's like, just do what you do, man. Enjoy it. Clint says, check out hippocampus. Yeah, the hippocampus is a major important part of the brain, the way it processes, but the way you wrote it makes me think that there's a college out there called Hippo. J-Mute says, Stone Temple Pilots. Yeah, I used to listen to a lot of STP when I was young. Chris says, your channel is shadow banned, I think. Open a private browser and copy paste God and Psychedelics. Nowhere to be seen. No, this is how YouTube does it with all the videos. If I search up a specific name on my channel, I won't find it, but sometimes it comes up. It just depends on the video and the situation. YouTube isn't shadow banning specific channels. I mean, they are, but I'm saying mostly the issue isn't really being shadow banned, but rather they want the recommendation list to show things that are going to make them money. And a lot of people know that I don't have ad revenue on my channel because I've never had commercials. And sometimes people don't even notice until they've subscribed for a while, and they're like, oh yeah, I don't realize your videos don't have commercials. I just signed up for AdSense a while back. It's still in the process. I haven't put ads on the channel. But as someone said, YouTube just sent us all an email as creators saying, oh, basically, well, if you haven't used ad revenue on your channel by now, it doesn't matter because we're going to be able to legally put ads on any channel we want without your permission. Meaning that basically just me using YouTube and uploading, they could go and put ads on all my old videos that I worked on and put my own effort into, even though they have nothing to do with it, just for hosting it. I think that's fucked up. So therefore I signed up for ad revenue so at least I can gain some of it instead of them. But it's really petty cash. I thought that Patreon might work. I thought that I could have a YouTube channel that would be successful, but after seeing how corrupt and fucked up YouTube is and the way that they handle their creators, I'm just ashamed to even be part of this community. The YouTube community, not with the people, but with the company. I'm ashamed that I have to use YouTube. And when people say move to Steemit or move to Discord, none of that changes the fact that YouTube is still the most, you know, easiest format to use. So, yeah. Jenna says, Carpo, I'm very impressed how much you know about gut health and the relationship to mental health that's offered as antidepressants. Yeah, thanks, Jenna. Actually, I did make a video a while back about antidepressants and my feelings about this. I know a lot about gut bacteria. I wrote this paper a couple of years ago about whether viruses or bacteria were our gods. And it was before I'd even learned a lot of the stuff I know now. The first one I made was several years ago, and I was like, could it be that humans are just vessels to carry bacteria and viruses around? That maybe we evolved to transport these things. Maybe the intelligence of humans was actually a evolutionary, it could be a side effect of evolution, or it could be a desired trait in order to think about this. If you were a bacteria group, I believe bacteria to be intelligent as a whole, right? I believe in this. It gets into some hokey shit that you might not believe in. But I believe that, think of an anthill, okay? We know they use chemical signals, but we've got workers, we've got soldiers, we've got the queen. When enough of one group die, others will convert over to fill that position. It seems to be a perfectly operating system. We don't know why it works the way it does. It just does. We just say chemical signals. But that doesn't really answer the question, does it? The same thing with gut bacteria. Bacteria seem to have a connection to our minds, but also to each other. It seems to be that certain foods can make you feel a certain way. You know, they talk about food and the mood, but it's not about just, you know, darn it, gotta turn my volume down now. It's not about food and mood like, you know, you just eat and you feel good because of the energy you get. It's actually, a lot of this is your gut bacteria talking to your brain. And that just shit just blows me away. But the gut bacteria thing, especially with the vagus nerve, you know when you eat something that doesn't work for you. You can feel it in your head. And I'd say that bacteria are the single most important thing to our mental health. If we don't acknowledge that, it's because we can't imagine what it would be like to have no gut bacteria. We can change how we feel by changing what we eat. Your food and your mood, that goes so deep, so deep. So, Stefano says, Hi Carpo, hope you're doing well. I'm from Argentina. I've been a follower of yours for some years. I haven't seen your videos for a long time. Now I'm catching up. We have it difficult down here. Well, hello, Stefano. Argentina, my friend. That's awesome. I hope you're still here. I'm fascinated because I don't hear Argentina very often. You know, you hear about Peru and Brazil and Chile and all these other countries, but you just don't hear about it very often. And that's fascinating because I'm curious to know how things are going in South America. I hear about, you know, with COVID, it was just kind of the icing on the cake for a lot of countries down there with the issues that everybody's been having. And I empathize strongly because, especially people who are trapped in situations they can't escape. I'm not too familiar with Argentina, but I'm wishing you the best. DB says, the first I tried Kratom was smoking it. I was told it was keef. Oh God, no, I don't smoke Kratom. Yeah, yeah, looking back, he says, it wasn't pleasant. No, it probably wasn't. I've seen a video where a guy talks about smoking Kratom. There's a video about a guy who says he snorts Kratom, okay? I listened to it. I spoke my mind to him, saying bullshit. But to this day, I think back and think, was that a trolling video? Like, I don't even know still if the guy was dead serious or not. Sincerity is important, and I feel like not enough people are sincere right now. But Clint says, I got banned from AdSense. What did you get banned for? I'm curious, because I want to know what my limits are. Mikhail says, Hi Carpo, I'm always look forward to your informal chats. I don't remember how I stumbled onto your content, but I'm a regular viewer. I appreciate your honest, intimate voice. So many, what does it say? So many bread tubers. Oh God, I know. The way I feel about, if you're talking about bread tubers, I'm assuming you mean bread as in cash. This is one of the most difficult things about being a presence online. I'm not a presence online. I'm just a guy who uses YouTube to talk. I have the subscribers I have. People say, wow, it's 20,000 subscribers. I say, no, I really have about 500 subscribers. That's the way I see it. Basically, every year you get maybe a 10% of the viewers are actually real viewers or left over. I really don't have that many subs. You can see any one of my videos, none of them have more than like 250 views after 10 years. The beauty is that out of those 250 people, only 1 in 10 really comment. And the beauty to that is that I can answer each one of you. And I'm sure I would be surprised if a subscriber said that I've never answered or thumbed up or something in one of their comments, because when I go to a channel that's really popular, I see that they're in it for the cash, let's say. They don't seem to care about their audience at all. They're putting out a product or an idea, and I respect that. They're doing what they do, and people donate to them, and they don't talk with the people. That's fine. YouTube is different for me. It was a way for me to interact with individuals. Back in the early days, in the Wild West of YouTube, you could post video responses to people. So if I saw a video I liked, I could make my own video and then hit response and link that and put it in the comment section. I could also do, links and shares, and you could do private messaging, things like that. YouTube eliminated that for the sake of convenience for them, not for us. They only eliminated that shit because they wanted their community to be spread out. YouTube only promotes channels that make them money. And it's daunting because you want to share things online. You want to be perhaps an independent journalist or somebody who shares philosophy or ideas about life. And what do you get for it? You get treated like a fucking idiot. If you're not making, if you're not making reaction videos to a guy reacting about reactions, or whatever's popular, or memes at that moment, which I'm not a meme culture guy. I know 99% of the people are, but I find that most of what people call memes to be just pretentious bullshit, posing as humor. Um, I don't know. It's hard. You kind of lose hope. You think, well, there's two ways to look at this. Either, well, everybody else is just an idiot and they don't know shit, or you could say, well, I'm the idiot. And for me, it's like I realize I'm the idiot because I'm the guy who I'm the minority in this situation. People say, well, if you want to make money, then sell out. It's like I can't sell out. That's not my thing, you know. But I don't know. Anyway, food stamp is back, and YouTube is evil. Pucks, what are you doing on YouTube if it's evil? Then you're worshiping Satan by even watching this. Kratom snorters. J Mute says any cash is a blessing for all. Yeah, cash can be handy. Chris says I've been subbed for a long time. Yeah, you probably have. Hit the chalice. All right. I haven't seen a chalice in a long time. God, I used to have a really nice one. If you're not aware, a chalice is a pipe, a vertical pipe that sits between your fingers like this and has a bowl on top, and you smoke it through your hand. How unprofessional of me. I just found this pile of songs down here, and I was looking at how I divide up the songs, but found this page on top. I was going to read it. You and I are the ones who suffer. People get bolder and the laws get tougher. And the older that we get, the more we seem to regret when we don't speak up about the tyranny we see. We're only as free as we allow ourselves to be, and these bullshit drug laws are holding us down. Look around, they haven't worked, only made things worse. It's a curse of human arrogance to put the past first. Society is changing, rearranging on a level we can only hope to grasp in the time to ride the wave before we find ourselves confined to a world of our making. Keep on trying, keep on fighting. The world's here for our taking. You can't fix dumb, or so they say. Prohibition hasn't worked at any time and any day. Keep on fighting for the right to be you. We're stronger together, and you know that's true. I guess I was talking about drug laws, but I lost the second part of that. An old cassette tape holder with it. I mentioned that because I was thinking about my past and just how I feel about oppression and holding other people down, and this fine balance I've realized between realizing that we can hold ourselves down, that it's not always the man that's screwing us over. Yeah. I still listen to the tapes, says Chris. Yeah, so do I. I have a tape player up here, actually. Right here. And, actually, I bought this. I went back when concerts were a thing, back when people could go see live events. I bought this from an artist who was selling them at this little, like, psychedelic event I was at. And it's a print of a picture he painted. And as you can see, I mean, this metaphor, when I saw this, I had to have this shit. It's, they're carp. And I know people know this. Carp are fish. And that's not why I have the name I have. But to have a live and dead carp at the same time, I thought that was pretty awesome. The cycle of life. It's actually called Pisces of Me. And it's number 2450. They're like hand signed and shit. But a lot of you may have seen that skeleton painting that I bought with the embracing skeletons. Death is a major part of my life. It's something I think about often. People have thought it's weird to have skeletons on my wall, things like that. Like, no, I feel, what I've discovered is that a lot of people are very insecure about mortality and their own mortality. And in my studies of philosophy and ancient history, what I've come across is that understanding that mortality is the most crucial aspect. Everything else falls into place with that. When you finally come to, come to terms with the fact that you will pass away one day and that you don't know what's coming next, that's very empowering, as much as you might not think so. I don't want to get into that because that seems dark, but maybe around the holidays that's how people feel. I don't know. Melodona, I like your streams you have back there. Haha. Well, thank you, my friends. So we just brought this home 2 days ago. My wife, I mentioned this before. My niece has been buying storage spaces for bids. She bid on the storage space for 30. They bought this one for $200. It had just so much shit in it. Unbelievable stereo equipment, knives, and it was a fucking score. Well, they've been bidding. They bid on a few more, and she bought one for $30. And I guess it was full of nothing but boxes. Most of the boxes were full of clothes and owl figurines. Like, everybody has their weird obsessions, right? So the first one I got was full of elephant figurines and stuff. And my wife and I have always collected elephants. We used to have furniture that was all elephants holding up tables. We just love elephants, or she does. So I love them anyway, but... So the last one had a bunch of elephants. This one was all owls, and some of them were these old 1960s owls, which you've probably seen on your great-grandparents' wall from back in the day, those weird owls with the big, eyes. And anyhow, within that box were these mushrooms, and she brought them home, and I thought it was so cool, because I wasn't sure what the point of them was. I don't think this is an actual incense burner. I really don't. I think that the holes were just put in the top, but I could be wrong. Maybe it is. But I've never seen an incense burner this awkward, and the holes don't go deep enough to really make any impact here. But I'm fascinated with mushrooms. And I started thinking, as a carpenter, I like refinishing and fixing things up. Mushrooms. I want to show you guys something. I'm going to go grab it. Just give me 1 second. Something I just finished. So I don't know if there are any carpenters out there. I doubt it, but it's possible, I guess. I pulled this out of a box. I was going through my boxes. And I don't know if you're aware of what this is, but it looks like a pretty awkward, weird, complicated piece of machinery, and it is. It's a Trademark 45. That's what it says on them, of course. It's a number 45, but it's an old sled plane from Ward's, Montgomery Ward's. It says Ward's Master Quality right on the side. And it's called a sled plane because it sits on the edge. It has this board where it sits on the edge of a board, and it'll cut a very small, plane a small amount off with this blade. And I have a whole box of different blades. In other words, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, if you wanted to make a piece of molding, you needed something like this, unless you had a large spinning. There were no electric tools at that point, and not everybody had them. Anyway, the handle kind of broke off, I realized, but that doesn't matter much. I don't use this. A sled plane is way too complicated. I have routers and table saws, but this is what I really wanted to share. Such a simple concept. This is something that I've had, I don't even know how long I've had it. It's a plane, a simple Stanley plane. It's probably the most common. It's a number, what's called a Bailey number 4. So if you look in here, you can see it'll say Bailey number 4. This is probably from the early 1900s to, the 30s or 40s. I'm not sure what year it was from. It's hard to determine. But basically what a plane is, it's a flat surface on the bottom, like an iron or anything else. And then it has a little screw right here, right? And you screw that, and it'll push a little tiny blade out the bottom here, which, for example, has a little thing that locks it in. and it takes a tiny little sliver off, right? Very tiny sliver off. It's a very simple concept, and today most people would take something like this for granted. This plane right here still sells for, I don't know, 100 bucks, you know, in good shape. And when I pulled it out of the box, I realized that this whole handle right here, which is made out of Padauk, it's a type of a reddish wood. I was working with Padauk. Doesn't smell much, but I made this handle right here. So this handle here, the original one that was on there cracked a little bit. So I traced it and I built my own nice handle. And I didn't realize I'd made this until I'd been using it. I took this and I put it on the edge of a board and I went whoosh, and I took off like a 4-foot sliver all the way down it, like a fucking 32nd of an inch thick. And I'm like, Jesus, these old tools are amazing. And I have a point here. I'm not just bragging about tools. I'm saying there's a nostalgia attached to older things that take a little more effort to use. Something like this is a very simple concept. Let me see if I can take a sliver off of my wrist. No. They're extremely useful and sharp, and to this day, they don't lose their relevance. In other words, to this day, somebody will buy this and actually use it. Now think about how that applies to most of the shit that you've seen come out over the last 20 fucking years. Stupid new technology and apps and a phone that's going to lose its value within a couple of months. Everything is designed to fall apart. There's a word for it, actually, a term. It's called planned obsolescence. Back in the day, people made things because they wanted them to last. They wanted their name brand to gain traction. Like the stereos in the 60s and 70s were made at very, just above budget because they didn't make a lot of profit, but it was the stereo wars times. They packed everything they could into a small amount. Now they just make a big box and throw everything shitty. I picked up a television yesterday. So I'm not going to go off too long on this, but okay, so I went to Goodwill. I love Goodwill. I went there yesterday on my way to buy some stuff for the bathroom. I was like, well, I'll stop at Goodwill, see what they got. Took my son, we looked around. There was a television sitting there in the, electronics section. And it was a Sony Bravia TV. I don't know the model. I looked on the bag, it was like, I think a 36 or a 40-inch TV. It was pretty good size. And it had a tag on it for $100. It was a green tag, and green tags were half off. So I was like, okay, here's a $50 40-inch TV. It might even be bigger. Okay. Seems like it's larger than that. Maybe like 55-inch or something. It's a big TV. I was like, I'm buying it for Christmas. Fuck it. We need one for the garage. We're going to remodel. I bought it. I carried it. I was like, this thing is so heavy. And I thought, just because something's heavy doesn't mean it's good. But I know the stuff that's built today is built like shit. I've had 2 TVs go out in the last couple of years. Brand new TVs. But all my old TVs still work. And so, yeah, planned obsolescence is a real thing. Buying quality products makes all the difference. I just wanted to say that. It really does. I'm sorry to hear that, Jairus. He says, 90% of my family is dead. Before I was 12, I grew to accept death. I've been talking to my friends about that. Like, death is important to accept for what it is, because it's not going to stop. But it will stop you. Donna says, who's your favorite philosopher or philosophers? That's a really tough question. But I would say Alan Watts. There's no way around it. The simplest information you can receive should be the best. All I can say about philosophers, teachers, and people on anywhere, authors, YouTubers, anything, anytime things are overcomplicated, or if the person has the only one path, and I just don't have time for it and don't care. So that's how I feel about that anyway. It's got to be simple, so I love that guy. Personally, I've always been drawn to Camus, even though I did reports on his works. I like Camus too. I mean, I love basically all philosophers, even Nietzsche. You know, when people talk about Nietzsche being a nihilist, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about philosophers. I just pick up their basic ideas and think, what does this mean to me? But Nietzsche, he was like taking nihilism from its raw, assumed term and putting it into what it should be is completely, I don't know. In other words, nihilism isn't about letting go and saying nothing matters. It's about realizing that all that matters is what you make matter. So you have to take it and extend all philosophies farther. I think there's no one philosopher that can be the best. We have to get into all of them. But Chris says the same with cameras back in the day. Yeah, you're right, my friend. So yeah, that's absolutely it. So it's been about an hour and a half, and I'm going to try to keep this to a reasonable time. So I'm going to stay on here for about another 10 minutes. And I'd like to use that time to specifically answer questions that anybody might have, because I think that that's the main benefit to really doing these types of formats is I do tend to ramble more because I'm answering questions, but at the same time, when I'm doing my normal videos, which is what I sat down to do, I wanted to talk about a lot of things, and I thought, you know, I don't know, there's just something about interacting with people, you know, live that's unique, because I feel like people respect that more. So if you have any questions, let me know. I just want to leave on a good note of the holidays really are what you make them, like anything else. You wake up each day, you don't know what's coming. You might get hit by a truck, you might win $1 million. These are just these taken for granted, given kind of things. And I guess those are the things that drive me to share the videos that I do. I step back and ask myself why I bother. Why do I make a video on YouTube? Why do I share anything? And then I think, well, why does anybody do anything? Why does somebody write a blog? Why does somebody write a book? Or even become a teacher? Like, what's the point of anything, right? This is very important, because that's what nihilism really is. This is what underscoring that idea of nihilism, like, well, none of this matters in the long run because we all die. All right, that sets us on creating our own path, determining what's important for ourselves. Nobody else can do it for us. So I think that it's very important to find something that works for us as individuals. Don't be too codependent, whether it's on your relationships with your kids, your parents, your siblings, your spouse, your coworkers, anything. Like, being able to be independent, but at the same time being, I don't know, not withdrawing so much from society. You just become a shut-in. That's really crucial. Too many people just become shut-ins and hide themselves away. In other words, if I don't interact with people, then I don't have to deal with their bullshit. And I think that's a very unhealthy way to live. If a person wants to live that way, that's fine. But they shouldn't be the kind of person who just, say, goes out and spouts their opinions to others. These are the same kind of people who just don't listen to anyone, but often will just give everyone else their opinions online or in person. Like, oh, this is how the world works. Like, well, wait a minute, this is the fact. No, I don't want to hear the facts. The facts are not, I'm not interested in facts. You know, it's the old thing, like, you know, just the facts, ma'am. Oh, don't bother me with the facts. I'm too busy with my opinion, kind of thing. There's an old saying, I don't want the facts. I've already had my conclusion. Or don't bother me with the facts. I've already decided what's true. I don't know. It's weird. People, that's just how it is, I guess. And I feel like sometimes I'm actually putting down people's beliefs because I'm sitting here saying, oh, I think this is bullshit and that's bullshit. But it's because more you want to control your own reality, I guess. Always been drawn to come. Okay, where are we at here on the comments? Built to last. Merry Christmas from Riso. Riso! Hey, Joe Riso. Riso Art. If y'all are on here, you have to go to Joe's channel. Now, The guy that commented here, Riso Art, he's the guy that painted that skeleton painting I have in my living room. A lot of people comment on. I purposefully put that into frame because I like Joe. I think he's a good guy. I only met him once. I was at an event. I don't know if I was rolling or what, but I was a little bit high, and I saw him painting this live at like a DJ event type thing. It was like where they had live art being created while people were dancing and whatnot. And I think it was Whiteout, which was where everybody wore total white and it was all black lights, or it could have been Down the Rabbit Hole. Doesn't matter. A lot of these events are just for people to get together, like-minded people who just want to mentally snuggle with other people who care. People who aren't trying to rip you off or fight or lie or cheat, or they're just there for the same reason as you are. To just go, hey, how's it going, and dance and have a good time. Well, Joe was there painting this skeleton painting of these skeletons embracing. And I saw that, and I was with my wife, and I'm like, honey, look at that. I was like, oh, we have to have that. Went over and talked to him while he was painting, and ended up, he wasn't done with it yet. So I went to his house in Milwaukee and bought it from him. And for a while on YouTube, Joe was doing some live paintings, and I would say, go over and support his channel, but I don't think he's been doing them for a while, Joe. If you have, I know it takes work. Not work, but rather, it's easy to lose hope. You're on YouTube, you're sharing your stuff, and you're not getting any traction. It's not you. Your art's phenomenal. It's just a matter of keeping going with it and being patient, because I think your art is phenomenal, dude. And I'd love to buy some more of your art. You know, I'd support you if any way I can. This is, I think, what's important: supporting artists, supporting other people that we respect. So, long story short, go to Joe Riso's channel and check it out. It's Riso Art, and I hope you're doing well, my friend. Chris says, not much of a New Year's resolution guy, but did you have any certain goal for 2021? Hey, you know, a year ago I made a resolution for 2020, and I said that I'm going to learn to play piano, somewhat, and I'm going to learn to draw better. I like to draw. So I sat down for the first couple weeks, and I was drawing these pictures. I didn't do any piano work until like halfway through the year, and I've learned like 3 or 4 chords. I learned how to play the pipe organ sounds and whatnot. But I'm like, okay, you're never going to fulfill everything you want to do. It is what it is. Just, but no, I don't have any specific resolutions this year except just to get through it. The one year I'm not going to expect much from myself. Riso says your channel's not active. Thanks, Carpo. Oh, bummer. I'm sorry, my friend. Well, if you have another channel, feel free to share. Yeah, absolutely. As an artist myself, I should say as a creative person myself, I'm not an artist. I don't want to minimize what it means to be an artist, but there's a not much, it's a kind of a blurred line between creating things and selling those created things. And I've always enjoyed making my resin art, you know, and I've had a lot of, like my friend Joel, he sent me a message earlier because he took one of my cuff bracelets that I made out of resin, and he really liked it, but it flexes when it gets warm, and he was talking about these different resins. He sent me a website of these resins that are more hard plastic for certain types. It's too complicated for doing all the different resin jewelry I do, but the point is that people care. They like want to share, and they want to share with you different methods of doing things and what they've discovered. Our small friend groups that are encouraging, and I don't know, it's something that should not be taken for granted. So if you have anybody in your life who cares about you, don't take that for granted, because it could disappear overnight. Well, honestly, for me, being able to sit and talk with y'all, it's kind of a relieving thing, even though I'm talking to myself. And if any of you specifically are interested in doing perhaps a live chat. If you feel like you're up to it and you feel like you'd be interested in doing a live interview through Discord or somewhere else, I just signed up for a Discord account the other day. I'm just learning how to use it. It has audio chat. It's used a lot for gamers. I'm trying to keep up with the technology, you know? I don't use Facebook, not because I don't know it, but because I got so sick of the bullshit on there. I deleted it a couple of years ago. Just can't look back, right? Just toxic as fuck. Just siphons off all your information, sends you ads, even in your comment threads. Complete bullshit. I don't have Instagram, even though I'm a photographer, because I feel the same way from my research on that. Every social media site is complete bullshit, which is why it's hard to even want to take these things seriously. My podcast is something I hope goes somewhere, but YouTube, who knows? That's why I'd like to interview people for the podcast. If you have an interesting story you'd like to share, whether it's on video or just audio, it doesn't matter. And you can actually, you'd have to share with me the way to do it properly, because I'm still figuring this out. The Discord thing, I think you can do audio recordings, but I have a simple voice recorder and I like to record podcasts. And I really remember years ago thinking this is the future of communication. I like listening to people talk. Others do too. I need guests to do that. So anyway, let me know. You can email me at carpo420@comcast.net or carpo420@gmail.com, either one. If you're serious and you really want to be interviewed and you have some things to share, because I want to talk to just average people. As I mentioned the other day, I'm going to be on a podcast on January 15th or 13th, I think. But I don't know when they're going to publish it. It's called, 13 Questions. You know, it's somebody who suggested it. And it's a fascinating podcast because they ask men different questions. And you think, well, being put on the spot on a podcast is weird. You're like, oh, I got to be prepared for this. Really, it just flows naturally. And that's what I've discovered. Just like doing a live cast. It took me 10 years on YouTube to get the balls to even do a live cast, and then I found out I love it. You know, it's branching out and trying new things, I guess. So that's all I can say about that. Yeah. All right, so flip through the comments here. You're welcome, Joe. No social media for 6 years, huh? Yeah, YouTube's, yeah, that's how I am, kind of. I did sign up for Twitter this year just to complain about politics, but I don't use it very often. Chris says, I recently did my first interview using Discord as well. I've just finished editing and screw Facebook. Yeah, dude, that's great. Let me know, yeah, how that works out for you. I'm curious. I'd like to try it myself, but so anyway, DB says the sky is looking beautiful in eastern Washington. Well, I wish it was beautiful a few nights ago because there was the meteor shower I wanted to see. And as well, in case you're unaware, last night, I believe, was a conjunction of 3 planets. I think it was Jupiter, Saturn, and maybe Jupiter, Saturn. I don't know the third, but it's probably Mercury or Mars. But anyhow, it's the closest conjunction they've been in hundreds of years, or there are going to be for like another, I don't know, 50 years or something. And it fell on the solstice, I guess, which was yesterday. So all of you can know that last night was the longest night of the year, and from here on out, it's just going to get longer days. And that's a good thing. Every December, I think that. Like, these are the short days, it's dark, it's cold, and it will end. So, anyway, it's been really good talking to you all, and I hope to do this again. Perhaps next time I do a live cast, I'll be a little more organized. I want to have a few specific things to, to talk with people about, but I find going off the cuff and going by my instinct is the way to go. Oh, I forgot I was wearing a dog collar. Isn't that funny? There we go. Oh, that's weird. It's actually going very fast, but since it's being picked up by the camera, it looks all weird because of the shutter speed. Yeah, I bought this earlier for my dog. I thought it would be kind of cool. They're nice. It was $5 at like Lowe's. It's got a little charging port, clip it on your dog when you're camping. Because this winter I would really like to go camping. Um, get the hell out of town because I'm really tired of being in town. It might even be fun to go on Christmas, to just actually go to the woods on Christmas and just hang out there. I don't know. There's a lot to think about. I'm sure you all have your own shit to think about, right? So, it's been real, and I appreciate everybody who came. I could probably talk for a couple more hours, but I have other obligations, right? Be well. Remember to love each other. Remember that it's been a rough year for everyone. And we don't have to dwell on it, the bullshit, or hang up ourselves, get hung up, I guess, on the trivialities out there. Just remember this. In any other year, we have our ups and downs. Life can be hard, then we have our concerts and our fun moments to escape. All it takes is that one additional bullshit moment, something like COVID, to just turn us on each other. The way that people are fighting and screaming in each other's faces about wearing masks or, you know, arguing about whether the virus is going to, uh, even exists, these kinds of things, they're not productive to the bigger picture of everyone's just trying to protect their family and loved ones, right? The same way that wearing a helmet doesn't mean you're a complete idiot. When I was a kid, wearing helmets and pads as a skateboarder was a thing to do, for the wussies. But you know what? They survived when they fell down. And all we're trying to do is survive. I think there's bigger issues we can fight about. But, you know, what do you do? It's 2020. It's absurd. I'll talk to y'all soon. Good to see you, my friends. Peace out.